All right, let's dive right in. We're about to tear down one of the most common pieces of advice you've ever heard. Share your goals to stay accountable. But what if that's not just wrong? What if it's the very thing that's been sabotaging your success before you even start? Today, we're going to explore a pretty radical idea. That real power, real progress, it moves in silence.
And this right here, this sentence is basically the core of everything we're about to unpack. It just flips the whole script. It suggests the problem isn't your work ethic. It's not your discipline. It's that you're leaking your power one conversation at a time.
So why is talking such a deadly trap? I mean, it feels good, doesn't it? It feels like you're making progress. But the analysis we're digging into today calls it psychological suicide. Yeah, I know, it's a strong statement, but there's a reason for it. Announcing your goal actually triggers a chemical process in your brain that can be absolutely devastating to your motivation.
And this is the heart of the problem. You gotta remember, our brains are still kind of primitive in a lot of ways. So when you tell your friend your grand plan and they go, wow, that's amazing, boom, your brain releases a little hit of dopamine. It gets that feeling of validation, of satisfaction. And here's the kicker, your brain doesn't really know the difference between the good feeling from that social praise and the good feeling from actually doing the hard work. You get the reward before you've even started the race.
Okay, so how does this one little mental glitch actually lead to total failure? Well, it's not just a single weak spot. It sets off three very distinct traps that completely dismantle your drive. We're talking a nasty mix of psychological tricks, strategic mistakes, and just plain old ego.
The first trap, let's call it dopamine hijacking. Just look at this comparison. On one side, you've got the easy, cheap dopamine you get from just talking about your goals. It feels like progress. On the other, you've got the real, earned dopamine from actually doing the work that is progress. When you get the reward up front, that internal pressure you need to push through the grind, it just vanishes. You've basically spent all your motivational cash before the journey's even begun.
But this isn't just about your brain chemistry. No, sharing your goals is also a terrible strategic move. First, like we said, you bleed that mental energy you need for action. Second, you reveal your whole game plan. You lose the element of surprise. And third, and this is the one most people never see coming, you actively invite resistance from the world around you.
So what do I mean by inviting resistance? Think about it. When you announce your big, ambitious plan, you're holding up a mirror to other people. And sometimes, that mirror reflects their own lack of progress right back at them. That makes them uncomfortable. And what do we humans do when we're uncomfortable? We try to eliminate the source. Now, this sabotage isn't always malicious. It might just be a little joke, a helpful warning about how hard it'll be, or even just a doubtful look. But it's all a defense mechanism designed to pull you right back down to their level.
And that brings us to the third and final trap, your own ego. This quote, man, it hits the nail on the head. Your ego gets this massive boost from all the applause for a future that doesn't even exist yet. And once it's been fed that recognition, it starts fighting against the actual painful work of discipline. I mean, why go through all the struggle when you can get the glory for free just by talking a big game? It becomes your own internal saboteur.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem pretty clearly. It's a trap. So what's the solution? The source material we're looking at proposes this powerful new mindset, a whole new framework it calls the Predator's Playbook. It's all about shifting your logic from that of the herd, the sheep, to the logic of the silent, focused, and effective predator.
This chart just lays out the difference so starkly. The sheep announces everything, looks for witnesses, seeks reassurance. It thinks transparency is a strength, but what it's really doing is bleeding power. The predator, on the other hand, it hoards silence. It prepares underground where no one can see. It gathers information but gives none away. This approach doesn't just save your energy, it builds incredible leverage and a massive strategic advantage.
So how do you actually use this playbook? It boils down to three core laws. First, energy conservation. Every plan you keep to yourself builds this internal pressure. That pressure isn't anxiety, it's fuel. Second, invisible preparation. Real power is built in the dark, where no one's watching. Exposure just contaminates the whole process. And third, and this is my favorite, strategic shock. Don't show people your rough draft. Reveal the finished product, the finished outcome. People can't argue with results that are already done. It completely resets the board.
Now, before you run off and adopt this whole mindset, it's really important to understand that this path, it's not easy. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. It has a cost. Moving in silence is going to fundamentally change your relationship with the world. And honestly, that change can be pretty damn uncomfortable.
The very first price you're going to pay is misunderstanding. See, when you stop narrating your every move, you create this information vacuum. And people get really uneasy when they can't put you in a box, when they can't predict you. So they'll fill that vacuum with their own stories, their own projections. And a lot of the time, those stories are not going to be flattering. You have to be okay with being misunderstood.
The second price is distance. As you get more effective and more silent, this information gap grows between you and other people. You know your plan, they don't. And that gap can really strain relationships that were built on just constantly sharing everything. You just can't maintain real momentum if you're always having to slow down and explain yourself to make everyone else feel comfortable. You will outgrow people.
And this quote just captures that feeling perfectly. We have this romantic idea that power and success feel triumphant and warm. But the reality, according to this framework, is something else entirely. It's quiet, it's cold, and yeah, it can be pretty isolating because it requires you to detach from that constant need for other people's approval.
So what's the point of all this? What's the end game? It's not just about hitting one goal. It's about achieving something called sovereignty. This is the ultimate prize, a state where you operate with complete personal autonomy, where your actions are driven by your own internal compass, not by the need for a round of applause. You become the final authority in your own life.
And that brings us right here to the final, crucial question. This whole philosophy, really, it's a trade-off. You're trading social comfort, that easy relatability, that constant validation, for raw effectiveness, for control, and ultimately, for sovereignty. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's just a choice. Is that ultimate freedom worth the price of silence? Well, that's something only you can decide.